Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Relationship Matters Empowering Conversations. As you can see, I am on my own today. Co-host couldn't make it. He has meetings, and we have missed the last couple of weeks. Last weekend was a long weekend, so I took an extra day off. And the weekend before, the timing just didn't work with travel and such. And so I apologize for that, but it has brought me to the understanding that we may not be on every single week. I hope you can live with that. Just watch for the notifications and we'll do our best to give you notice and whatnot. Also, want to just mention, if you go to my website, let me bring it up for you here. If you go to my website, you can actually subscribe to my newsletter, and I usually include the latest podcast in it. And so anytime you'd get a newsletter, you would have the podcast anyway. And of course, you can always keep your eye on all the places that you normally find me, LinkedIn, YouTube, Spotify, Facebook. I don't go live to Instagram yet, but I may be doing that soon. I don't know. We'll see if we keep doing the lives too. Last few times we haven't had anybody coming on asking questions, and that's really a big part of why I do this live, is to create conversations. And so whether I have a guest on or not, I always like to have you, the audience, join me in the conversation. And so if that's not going to happen, I can just pre-record videos and put them on here. I'd also like to, I would love actually for you to do me a favor and give me some feedback. I was wondering, I'm looking at the analytics and I'm saying, well, is this podcast needed? Is this space is this a conversation that people need to have or want to have? And I believe it's vital. Relationships are the central thing in that's the one thing we all have in common, is we all have relationships, whether it's work, home, partners, neighbors. It's not anything any of us can avoid. You even have a relationship with yourself. So I think it's an extremely important conversation, and that's why I've dedicated my whole life to this. But if it's not needed out there, I don't also want to be a gonging cymbal in the background of your life. And so give me some feedback. Is this valuable to you? Have you enjoyed a couple of weeks ago, I bumped into somebody. I didn't have a clue that they listened to my podcast, and they thanked me and said that some of the episodes really impacted them. So, but I need the feedback. So if you can let me know, Mick, in the comments, let me know, is this valuable to you? Has the content been good? What are some of the subjects around relationships you would like me to cover? Why don't you be my producer? You be my director. You can actually give input and let me know what kind of subjects you want me to cover in the comments wherever you're seeing this. And so, because I look at all of those comments and I try to answer when I can. And so, yeah, that's really important that you're part of this conversation. And so we are going to keep going. We are going to keep going with this season, and we will continue to monitor and see if it's needed. And we'll certainly let you know if anything changes that way in that regard. But again, feel free to go to my website, markgordon.ca, and subscribe to my newsletter, and then you get more content. I put in, content there that I don't put anywhere else out there. So please subscribe to the newsletter. That would be fantastic. All right. So on to today's subject. And you saw the title. It's not fair. It's just not fair. You might say, well, what's not fair? I don't know. I've had at least five or six people tell me this week, I've heard them say out of their mouths, clients have said, it's just not fair. And I have to agree, it's not fair. But what is fairness? Why should this world be fair? Why should things be fair? What is fair? It's too broad of a subject. What they're really saying is that person hurt me, or they're mistreating me. Just declaring that something is not fair is not going to help you work through the problem. And so I wanted to kind of tackle that subject today with you. And if you want to make comments or put your input in, ask questions, go ahead in the comments. But what is fair and what is not fair? it's too hard to gauge, because what's fair for one person may not be fair for another. And so when we start to measure fairness, it means that we have pulled out a scorecard. And as soon as you have a scorecard in a relationship, you will have a winner and a loser. We are not to be competitive in our relationships, within our relationships. The competition within our relationships can actually cause damage. It can cause hurt and pain. And so as soon as you start talking about fairness, now listen, on a couple of these situations that I'm talking about, absolutely, it's devastating news that they received, or it's a breaking up of a relationship, and or it's somebody mistreating them after the breakup. And listen, there is lots of pain in the offering. There's no question about it. There is lots of pain, but let's not focus on fairness. When we start to focus on fairness, we are actually leads us to self-pity. And when we start to feel sorry for ourselves, we are giving our power over to the other person. We are starting to actually come under and be defeated by whatever the circumstance is. And I want to encourage you today that when we start to go down that self-pity and fairness road, it actually doesn't bring solutions. It actually invites more sorrow. It invites more pain, more hurt. What we want to do is face the pain head on. We want to look at it straight in the face, and we want to make confident decisions. We want to have confidence. And so today I want to talk a little bit about that. I want to talk about authenticity and what it is, and how do we walk in it? How do we stand strong in the face of adversity, rather than buckling under the oh, poor me, or oh, it's not fair. I also noticed another pattern. When we start to go down the not fair road and the self-pity road, we start to actually forecast disaster. We start to look ahead, and the what ifs start to come in, and we start to put ourselves down a spiral hole. Instead of making decisions and standing strong and starting to move ourselves forward out of the circumstance, we tend to then start to catastrophize what's going to come down the road as a result of this unfairness. And you know what? It's not that it's not true that some things come to our way that are not good. All of us have struggles. We all have a story. We all have, but how do we overcome that? How do we move forward in life? How do we keep walking out our lives in a way that is productive, that brings us joy, that brings us contentment? We've got to look at these hard subjects and talk about them. And I agree with you that, listen, there are lots of things in this world that are not fair, but if we dwell on that, it leads us down to actually inviting more unfairness into our life. And it's just not a good path to take. So I want to give you a better path today. I want you to understand the power that there is in taking ownership and responsibility in your own life, and to be able to start looking at and building up your self-worth so that you can overcome unfairness, so that you can overcome situations and circumstances that are out of your control. Most of the time, these things that happen to us are out of our control. And a lot of times, because of pain from our childhood or from previous relationships, we like to be in control. We like to control every aspect. But the reality is, you can never control every aspect. You can't control what other people do, say, and whatnot. All you can do is actually manage yourself. All you can do, really, for me, I'm a person of faith, so I believe that we need to call on God for help, our higher power. If you've been involved with recovery, as I have in AA or CR, Celebrate Recovery is a fantastic organization. You realize pretty soon that you need help. We do need a higher power to help us, but it's not until we take responsibility and recognize it's up to us to do that, to invite his help, to invite God's help, to invite your higher power's help, to invite other help into your life and whatnot. So we're just going to talk about that a few minutes today. If you have comments, you want to make a comment or a question, by all means, please just put them in your comment section there. It comes right into my studio here, and I will see those comments. I have a few of these open already, and And so let me just do this. I'm going to just turn the volume off, and I'm just watching for comments in both places. All right, let me jump into this minute. I want to just say this right off the bat. I'm going to just show this on the screen. Your value doesn't decrease based on someone's inability to see your worth. I'm going to say that again. Your value does not decrease based on someone else's inability to see your worth. A lot of times when we talk about behavior and talk about like fairness or when we've been treated wrong, a lot of times it does come from that place of people not seeing your value, not treating you with value. But a lot of times we allow it because we don't see our own value. And so I want to just kind of talk through a little bit about what authenticity is and what it isn't. Okay. If we can do that today, I'll take a few minutes to do this. It's like I always say, let's get real. We got to be real in these situations. So you got to know yourself, believe in yourself to be yourself. Okay. There's an order there to it. You got to know yourself. You can't be yourself. You've probably had people say, just be yourself. Well, you can't just be yourself if you don't believe in yourself and you don't know yourself. So you got to get to know yourself. That's the hard work you got to do. The more you sit around feeling like things aren't fair and you feel sorry for yourself, the more you are not knowing yourself. You allowing other people's opinions to actually define you. And that is where it's really, really painful. So we need to build up our emotional intelligence or our emotional strength, if you will, so that we can handle these hard times, these circumstances. So emotional intelligence is one of the main factors in relating to others. If we don't have emotional intelligence, we can't relate to other people. It's very difficult. And I'll expand on that in a few minutes. Self-awareness brings you choice. So when you start to be self-aware, when you start to understand, why did I allow that unfairness into my life? Why was I willing to put up with that being treated poorly instead of standing on my feet and being confident in who I am created to be? And so that usually points that there's something you're not understanding about yourself, and it's worth digging into. I really believe we have three primary relationships, one with God, one with ourselves, and then one with others. And I often show it in a triangle. It's like that is the way that it is for us. And so you need to develop that relationship with God, and you need to develop a relationship with yourself. So self-awareness then gives you choice. You can choose what you want to do. You're uniquely created. Embrace who you are and who you're not. Compare-itis will lead to unfairness. It's not fair they have everything. They got money, they got nice cars, nice houses. It's not fair they look beautiful. When we get into compare-itis, we move into unfairness. And when we move into unfairness, we move into self-pity. When we move into self-pity, we start to become depressed and discouraged, and anxiety starts to fill our hearts. What we want to do is we want to be grateful for who we are and what we have. So often you look at what you don't have. The art of being authentic is to look at what you do have and to actually be grateful for it. That is going to change and shift your attitude and the way you see things. So it's so important to understand that. So knowing yourself is knowing your self-worth. And self-worth is made up in three parts. And so I want to just share those three parts with you. You may have heard me share these things before, but this is a good refresher if you haven't. And you might know somebody that needs to hear this. So by all means, share this video out. Self-worth is made up in three parts. So to truly know yourself, you have to develop self-worth. If you don't have self-worth, it's really hard to get to know the real you. What happens is, when you don't have self-worth, is you rely on everybody else's opinion of you. You rely on that. Compare-itis starts to kick in, or what other people say about you. And what happens is you shapeshift. You start to shift kind of towards what their opinion is of you, or what you think you need to do to get their approval. And that, as soon as you do that, you lose your own self-worth. You are valuable because you were created with value. You were created by the living God who created this universe. You look at the the beauty all around us in the forests and the flowers and the lakes, the beautiful scenery, the way we see it made, and understand that you were created even more beautiful than all of that in God's eyes. And so that's why it's so important to understand this self-worth piece, because you already have value. You already have value. You don't need to measure up to anybody else's value. You don't need to allow people to treat you poorly to like you. Because if they don't like, if you're being somebody you're not, who do they like? Who do they love? It's not you, it's the facade. And so we need to be authentic. And to be authentic, we need to know ourselves. So it's made up of 3 parts. Self-esteem is how you feel about yourself. Self-image is how you see yourself. Self-dignity is how you treat yourself. If you don't feel good about yourself, you can't feel good about others. If you don't see yourself in the right light, you don't see other people in the right light. And when you don't treat yourself well, you're not going to treat others well. And worse, you'll let them treat you poorly. That is the byproduct of not having self-confidence, of not being authentic, not knowing your self-worth. Seeing a pattern here, I guess. By now, in this little talk we're having, this conversation we're having, you might be seeing a pattern here. You see, we must understand and know ourselves so that we can have confidence. And by the way, awareness brings choice. So if we do stumble across something, nobody's perfect. We have stuff in our life we got to work on. But when we stumble across those things in our exploratory search of knowing ourselves, we are now aware of it. We can make a choice. We can say, you know what? That's not who I want to be. I'm going to make a change. I'm taking responsibility and I'm going to make a change in that area of my life. I've had to do this over and over and over in my life. And every time I've actually gotten closer and deeper relationships with the people around me, especially my family. And by the way, before I go any further, I got to actually say happy anniversary as of yesterday to my daughter and her husband, Zach and Jaylene. 15 years. They just had their anniversary, 15th anniversary. It's my kids. And my other ones have been married as well for a long time. And so thank you and congratulations to you two. But one of the ways they've been able to do that is they continually build up the self-worth. They help each other do that. That's the best we can do, is help each other. But we've got to decide to do this. And so when you have, how do you start making these changes? If you don't feel good about yourself, you got to start seeing yourself in the right light. You need to make the decision and say, in my heart of hearts, what kind of person do I want to be? I came up with the conclusion when I did this the first time. I realized that actually, in my heart of hearts, I wanted to encourage people. I wanted to be an encourager. And that eventually became my purpose in life. I have spent the last 30 years of my life encouraging people, whatever it's through, when I pastoring a church, or whether it's a leadership in a nonprofit, whether it's what I do now, coaching and speaking. I encourage people every single day. Why? Not because I'm all that in a bag of Doritos, because I know that my self-worth led me to discovering that I love to encourage people, that I, in my authentic self, am an encourager. And so that was freeing for me. So now I have confidence. I'm an encourager. So it did 2 things. One is I don't have allowed discouragement to be in my environment very long. I do not allow discouragement. I try to encourage other people, and I have an ability and a gift to be able to encourage them so they can believe in themselves and they can start to develop self-worth. I see the value in people. That's my vision statement in life, is to reveal the value that every person possesses and to reveal the value of God to every person. That's my vision statement in life. My purpose is to encourage. My vision is to show you your value. And that has become a lifestyle for me. And so guess what happened? When I started to see myself as an encourager, I no longer could allow myself to beat myself up. I couldn't discourage myself if I was going to be an encourager. I couldn't speak poorly of myself. I couldn't allow others to treat me poorly when I was an encourager, because I know my value as an encourager, my self-worth as an encourager. I would not allow people to mistreat me anymore. and I don't mistreat others. I try to, with everything I have, I try to do the right thing by people. I want to be an encourager. Does not mean I'm perfect, folks. That does not mean I don't mess up sometimes, but it means that my true north, my center, where I come back to, what balances me, what roots me, what makes me stand, what cements me in life is that truth. And it doesn't matter what happens in my life, no matter how unfairness might hit me or how these things happen. 10 years ago, our place burned down. Why our place? Why not everybody else's place? Why did I'm a good person. Why did that happen to me? You see how that's not fair. If I went down that road, I would have made that situation 20 times worse than it was. It was hard. It was very hard. I've talked about it freely with people and on this podcast. It was difficult, but here's the deal, folks. Here's the deal. I know that I was an encourager. And so what did I do? The position I took was I'm going to encourage my neighbors. They lost their homes too. They lost their place. We live in a condo and they lost what they had too. So I decided I was going to become an encourager. I wanted to encourage other people. I wanted to reveal God's value to people and how he took care of us. And so it changed my attitude from feeling sorry for myself and going down that spiral comparison road. And it allowed me, instead of saying it's not fair, I was able to say, aren't I blessed? I remember the TV cameras came, they even interviewed me, and I said, we've lost everything, but we're still richer than 2/3 of the world. We have way more than other people. We're still blessed beyond our imagination. Think about that for a minute. What do you have that you can be thankful for? When you do that, it builds your self-worth. You realize, wow, I am valuable. These things, these bad things, these circumstances aren't happening. They're not happening because of me. Sometimes they happen to me, but they don't happen because of me. I'm valuable. I can climb out of this. I can go forward. I can overcome this. Whatever that is for you, I can overcome. Now bring it into the relationship. When you have that attitude with each other, when you're in a marriage and you start to compare, you start to have a scorecard, you start to talk about fairness. That's not fair. You get to do that. I don't get to do this. I've heard it. I've heard it from couples all the time. Well, he gets to go and do that with his buddies. I never get out. It's not fair. Yeah. That's not going to solve the problem, though. We need to be able to learn to communicate through that and make decisions and be aware of what we can do in our own lives. And so I really want to encourage you, that you have the ability, folks. You have the ability to rise above, to build self-worth. Understand, change how you see yourself as an overcomer. See yourself as somebody who can help others. Find out what your purpose is. People ask me all the time, I don't know my purpose. The problem is we're looking for purpose in what we do instead of who we are. Your purpose is found in who you are. It's not found in what you do. I can be an encourager and do anything. I can be a Walmart greeter. I can be a mechanic. I can be a lawyer. I can be a doctor. I can be homeless. And I'm still going to be an encourager. That's still my purpose. Doesn't matter where I find myself in life. Doesn't matter where I find myself in my circumstances. I'm an encourager. See, your purpose is found in who you are, not in what you do. And when we compare, we can't find our purpose because we're comparing to what other people are doing instead of knowing what we need to do. So build your self-worth. Start feeling good about who you are as a person. Start seeing yourself in a better light. Start seeing yourself. What do you want to be? What kind of person do you want to be? Compassionate, kind, creative, smart, empowering. I want to help the poor. What is it that drives your heart, that makes you who you are? You got to discover that, and then you got to believe it. You got to know in your heart of hearts. I know in my heart of hearts I'm an encourager. Doesn't mean I don't have bad days, but I know my center is I got to get back to being an encourager. So I got to start by encouraging myself. when I'm in the slump. I had a tough week this week. Some of my clients are going through real hard times, and I'm feeling the burden for them. I do. I can't help it. That's just who I am. I love them. I want them to succeed, but I've discovered I can't do it for them. I can inspire them. I can empower them. I can give them tools. I can encourage them because that's who I am. But I can't do it for them. They've got to choose to do it. And it's a hard week. Sometimes, sometimes, well, I'm a couples coach and they're divorcing. I failed. And I can go down that road quite easily. That fear of failure pops up and tries to pull me back down the hole. And then I start comparitis. Well, other coaches are so much better than me. Maybe they'd be better with someone else. And, comparitis. And then it's like, it's not fair. I don't, blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. No, 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 no. I gave my best. I am an encourager and I have encouraged them and I'm going to continue to walk with them. It doesn't matter what they end up doing. Their success is up to them, not me. But my responsibility is to be an encourager because that's who I am. Do you see how that works, folks? Stop saying it's not fair. Stop comparing yourself to others. Stop catastrophizing future events that aren't here yet. Don't worry about tomorrow when you have enough troubles today. Put your trust in God. He's the one that said, like, why do you worry about tomorrow? You have enough troubles today. Look at the sparrows. Look at the birds. Even they are taken care of. They don't have to worry about where their meal's coming from. They don't fly around saying, oh, I'm all full of anxiety because I can't find anything to eat. No, God provides everything they need. They don't have to think about it. It's instinctual. It's so part of who they are. They just do it. That's where we need to get to. So close to understand God's our provider. You're going to get through this. You're going to get through this. Please receive this encouragement today. I don't know where you're at. I don't know who's watching this. I don't know when you're watching it. Please know. Let me encourage you. You can get through this. You are valuable. You are important. You are significant. Believe it. Believe it and know it in your heart of hearts and go after who you want to be. Start to see yourself in that light. I'm an overcomer. Okay. First step, I'm an overcomer. And now what can I do to move forward in my life? I'm not feeling sorry for myself anymore. Feeling sorry for yourself is actually a form of pride. Pride either puffs up or it covers up. It's actually a form of pride. And what you want to do is humble yourself and say, I am so grateful for who I am, that I have a compassionate heart, that I have a caring heart, that I want, whatever it is for you, I'm grateful I have an encouraging heart that wants to encourage people, that wants to come here week after week and provide content and provide teaching and provide encouragement every day of my life. I am so grateful for that. Am I getting rich off this? No. Could I use some more money? Yeah, I could use a financial breakthrough right now. In fact, I'm praying for that. I'm believing for that right now for our family. That's the beauty. I can encourage myself even when I feel like it's not fair. I used to do that. I used to, why does that person make so much money? Why does that organization get so many donations and ours hardly gets any? Oh, it's not fair. Did not add one iota of value to my life. It did not add one iota of value to my organization the one I used to lead. Now it doesn't add one more thing to Relationship Matters for me to think that way, to compare myself to other coaches or to compare myself to other speakers. It adds zero value to you and to anything else. And so I choose to be authentic. This is me. This is what you get. I choose to be authentic. And because of that now, I know myself better than I've ever known myself. I'm 63 years old. I know myself better than I've ever known myself. I know what I'm good at and what I'm not good at. I've come to that conclusion. I'm really good at what I do and who I am, but I'm really bad at everything around it. Oh boy. But I'm okay with that. I will continue to work. I would rather spend time working on my strengths than focusing and lamenting over my weaknesses. I'm going to say that again, just in case you didn't hear it. I would rather spend time working and building my strengths than lamenting over my weaknesses. What's a better use of time? What's going to build your self-worth? What's going to build your confidence? Which one of those two things? Well, I think we both know the answer to that. Growing in emotional intelligence is an awareness of your actions and feelings and how they affect those around you. That's really a simple definition of how what is emotional intelligence? It's an awareness of your actions and feelings and how they affect those around you and affect yourself, really. Really, that's what it is. You know what? I had other stuff. I think I've hit on what we need today. I feel confident. I don't see any comments coming in. I don't see feedback or questions, but feel free, even if you watch this later, I check comments. So please add to this conversation. Add to this conversation. Have you been stung by it's not fair? Have you been stung by feeling sorry for yourself and self-pity? Or how have you overcome that? How have you done it? For me, I told you, I needed to find out my purpose and have confidence in who I am as a person, and I know my self-worth, and that for me has changed my life. It's changed everything. I don't declare it's not fair anymore. Nope. I don't focus on fairness. I focus on what I can do. I focus on what I'm called to do, what my purpose is. I focus on God and what He's asked me to do, what He's given me to do, who He's made me to be, and I choose to be grateful for that. I can't be someone else. I can only be me. And I hope that encouraged you today. I really do. I really do. Again, please go to my website and sign up. I have some courses on there you could take if you want to dive into this further. I have some little mini video courses on there that you can take. Relationship Matters, 5 Pillars of a Healthy Relationship. And I've got a couple others that are really good, like shadow boxing, punching shame in the face, and Godfidence, how to build confidence that lasts forever. There's several on there. They're like, most of them are only like $29. They're cheap. But go on there and order one. Go and have a look. Develop that self-awareness. Develop emotional intelligence. It will help you grow. It will help you get out of the it's not fair mentality. And you'll be able to really move forward and grow in your life. And I really am thankful for that. Also, go to the website, markgordon.ca, and you can also sign up for the free newsletter that is on there. And it's really powerful. I try to send it out every couple of weeks, and it always has some kind of encouragement in there because that's what I do. That's who I am. It's not what I do. What I do is a byproduct of who I am. And so if you'd like to join the Relationship Matters ecosystem and family, please go on there and subscribe, and you find out all kinds of things that are going on. And my next newsletter will tell you my speaking schedule in June. And maybe if I'm in an area that you're in, you can drop in and check out one of my talks. And so thanks so much for joining me today. I really always enjoy being with you and seeing you. I hope you got a lot out of this and you're encouraged by this. You are valuable.